Hello, everyone, and welcome to Psychology of Play Week 3. This is our virtual lecture where we're going to be going over a lot of the materials from the week and have some fun little activities. My name is Stephanie Fetcherin, and I'm one of the instructors for Psychology of Play. I am a licensed mental health counselor. I also have my master's degree in psychology. So that's a little bit about me. This picture, you're probably wondering what it is with this cardboard box thing. What we're going to be talking about today is how companies can mix work and play. And this is a perfect example of a time that happened at Full Sail. So this was a cardboard challenge day where we got into teams with people and just randomly in the middle of our day, and we had to construct something out of recyclable materials from our childhood. So this was a robot. And so we just had a lot of fun. And it just shows that not only do we talk about the value of play in this class, but we also do value play in our workplace here at Full Sail. So that was a really fun day. And we're always doing cool stuff like that around campus. So just a little background on the picture. All right, so here is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be talking about motivation, gamification, play in the workplace, and then we're going to kind of switch gears and move on to talking about conflict and teamwork type stuff, and we're going to do some fun activities and do a little quiz at the end. So hopefully this couple hours will go by quickly, and we might even finish a little bit earlier because it is a small group here today. There's only 15 of us in here, so sometimes when we have a smaller group, we go a little bit faster. So feel free to ask questions in the chat box or raise your hand. I'll be happy to call on you. We're actually going to be doing some activities today where you can talk on your microphone. So if that's the case, just make sure that you have you're in a quiet space, basically, so we don't hear the background noise. All right. So any questions about week 2 or week 3 stuff before we get started? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. You guys, you got to help me out here in the chat box, or else it's not going to be fun. I really don't like hearing myself talk for this long. So the more you guys are chatting with me in the chat box, the faster things go. Thank you, William. I appreciate you. All right, so let's move on. Okay, so in your reading, you learned about Dan Pink, and he is a businessman, and he also loves behavioral psychology. So he's done a lot of research on how businesses can be successful and what type of employees businesses are looking for. And it turns out that we're in a stage now where companies are looking for people that are creative, that are innovative, that are able to think on their toes, that are able to be good team players. These are the values that employers are looking for. So it's not necessarily what skills you have and are you able to complete the task at hand, which is, obviously important, but they're really looking for this, more right-brained type qualities in their employees. Oops. So what motivates employees? Let's talk about that. So also according to Dan Pink, he says we're not as predictable as you might think. So let me send you out a poll really quickly. What do you think? Do monetary rewards make people work harder? Yes or no? So go ahead and vote right there on the poll. You don't have to do it into the chat box because there's a poll that should pop up on your screen. Yes or no? Just whatever your gut tells you. So far, 67% of you have voted. So if you haven't voted, go ahead and do that now. All right, 100%. Okay. So let's see. We have 80% of you believe that yes, monetary rewards make you work harder, and 20% no. So if you've done the reading, the 20% of you that said no would be Correct. And, obviously this is a little bit of a gray area. It's not so black and white, yes or no. But what we learn is that there's a difference between how we're motivated and what motivates us. So is it intrinsic or extrinsic, basically? So does anyone know the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation? What does this mean? And feel free, if you want to raise your hand and talk on the mic, you can. What's the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic? And if you don't know, that's fine. I'm going to explain it here in a minute anyway. Might not be something you're familiar with. William says self-motivated against outside motivation. Okay. So intrinsic is something that's internally, and extrinsic is more external, right? Daniel says intrinsic is doing something for your enjoyment. Extrinsic is doing something for reward. Yeah, you guys got the idea. So intrinsic motivation is doing an activity for its inherent satisfaction or enjoyment rather than for some external consequence. All right, so doing something because it makes you feel good, doing something because it gives you a sense of purpose or meaning, that would be intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation, on the other hand, is doing something because it leads to a separable outcome or reward. So doing something for money, for fame, because it's going to make you look, good, or buy a bigger car or a bigger house, whatever, that would be more extrinsic motivation. So I want you to think for a second, what is one thing that motivates you? So you can go ahead and write this down in the chat box. So do it all together. So don't push enter until you have all your 4 listed, okay? So number 1, something that motivates you. Number 2, do you think it's intrinsic or extrinsic? Number 3, what do you think most people are motivated by? Intrinsic or extrinsic factors? And number 4, which works best, do you think? Intrinsic or extrinsic motivation? Make sure you write them all out, and if you use 1, 2, 3, 4, it's easy for me to read here on my end. All right, so you guys putting some responses, but I'm not sure what you're responding to, so make sure you're numbering your responses, or if you want to make this really simple, raise your hand, and we can talk about these on the mic. Okay, Caleb says something that motivates him is his family, okay? So, Caleb, I'm going to call you out. Is that intrinsic or extrinsic? What do you think? Your family motivating you. Extrinsic. Well, what do you guys think about that? I would say that your family would be more of an intrinsic motivation, right? Because they give you a meaning and purpose, and you do things because of them and for them, right? Whereas like buying a bigger house would be something that would be extrinsic, right? Might be related, like, oh, I want to provide a lifestyle for my family, but that would be an extrinsic motivation. I think it sounds like you're more, yeah, Caleb. Okay, you mixed them up. Okay, I know it's a little bit confusing. All right, let's see Courtney. Courtney says her children motivate her, and that is intrinsic. Yes, I would agree. What are most people motivated by? Intrinsic. And which works best? Intrinsic. Okay. So of course these are, subjective questions, so it's your opinion. But what the studies show is that, yes, extrinsic factors do motivate people. Okay, yes, we want money. We want fame. We want these things that come along with being successful in our view of society. However, long term, that's not necessarily the case. Okay, so long term motivation. Yes, that paycheck is nice. Yes, that money is nice. But does that make us happy? Does that really keep us going and doing what we want to do? In the long term, intrinsic motivation is where it's at. So if you find something that you want to do, you have to think about, why are you motivated? Because part of being successful is if it's something that comes from within you. So that's what um, the research is showing. Caleb, it depends on the situation. You're saying for which works best. Yes, exactly. It depends on the situation. Um, so if going on traveling motivates you, then in that sense, extrinsic motivation might be something that's more important because you need to have funds to travel, right? So it depends on the situation, but in this case, we're talking more about career stuff, right? We're talking about work and play. So let's think about what motivates you. Why are you here at Full Sail? Why did you come to this school, and what motivated you to do that and to go down this path, right? And was that intrinsic or extrinsic? So John Phillips says being closer to my goals, and he thinks that is intrinsic. Yep. Daniel says money is what's needed to survive, paying bills, avoiding homelessness, etc. This extrinsic motivation, I'd say, would have intrinsic layers, if that makes sense. Yes. So exactly what I was just saying, right? Of course, we need money, right? We need to have these things to live a comfortable life, right? But long term, for us to be happy in our career and our work environment, we need to be motivated by something internally as well. So sometimes these things go hand in hand, like you said, has intrinsic layer. I like the way that you said that. So it's kind of like an onion, and there's different layers that you're kind of peeling back here. But it's really important that you know what motivates you. So if you're feeling discouraged, if you are going through your program at Full Sail and you're in month 5 or 6 and you're just like, oh man, this is really hard, like I'm kind of lacking motivation right now to keep going because it's so hard, you need to think about, okay, why am I here? Is it because I want to make a lot of money? Okay, well, that you're like, man, that doesn't really seem that realistic right now because I'm not through my program yet. But if you think about the passion that hope maybe brought you here, your dreams of what you could do in the future, those are the things, and those are the motivators that are going to get you through those lulls. So Trenton says, that's why I'm here. I'm a nurse. I do make good money. It's a stable job. I enjoy it, but it isn't my passion. Exactly. So a lot of us might have chased a career based on, hey, this is a need, and I could make good money and it's stable and yada yada yada. But after time, that paycheck's not going to give you that sense of meaning and purpose that you might be looking for to motivate you to be happy and enjoy your job every day. Not every day, but you know what I mean. So that's why we have to look for things that are going to intrinsically motivate us, right? Okay, so I missed a lot of what you guys were saying in the chat box because it kind of was going a little fast. So let's go back. Jordan says 1, music motivates you, and that is intrinsic. Okay. Number 3, you think most people are motivated by intrinsic, and 4, which works best, extrinsic. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about the research. You guys all have your opinion about this, obviously. And I'm not here to tell you, oh, you're wrong. That's not true. Like that doesn't motivate you. Money doesn't, I'm just trying to explain what the research shows and get you to think about it maybe in a different way. So what's going to help us is learning about the candle problem. So the candle problem is a study done by Carl Dunker. And this is in your reading as well if you want more details about the study. But basically, he had participants come in and he asked them to solve a problem. They had these 3 items in front of them. And he said, you need to somehow get the candle lit and not let the wax drop on the floor. So what do you think they did? Like, what's the solution? If you've watched the video in the reading, you already know. Oops. Sorry. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. You're going to get seasick. Today's kids would have Googled it. Yeah. Well, what would you do in that situation? Anyone know? You wanna raise your hand? How would you get that candle to stand up without dripping wax on the floor? All right, I'm going to go back to the... Sorry, I just keep clicking too much. Okay, so what you would do... Thank you, Kyle. The solution is to put the candle in the box. Hold on, let me read it. Use the tacks to hold the candle while also using the tacks to attach it to the wall. Trenton says, I cheated. I already watched the video. No problem. You're ahead of the game with the reading. That's okay. Exactly. So why do I bring this up? Why is this important? Okay. Well, this isn't the full experiment. Okay. It wasn't just solve this problem. He split up 2 groups, and one was called the low drive group. And they were given this problem to solve. And they just said, hey, we're doing a study on problem solving. Here you go. Have at it. And they were timed, but they didn't know that. Then there was a high drive group. They were told, whoever solves this problem the fastest is going to get a monetary reward. And only the top 10 people who, solve this the fastest will get the reward, whatever. So there's multiple rewards. There's kind of a pressure to perform here, okay? Both have to solve the same problem. Let me ask you a question. Hold on one second. All right. Which group do you think solved the problem faster? Go ahead and vote right into the poll. Do you think it was a low drive group or the high drive group? All right, 83% of you have voted. Waiting on that last couple people. And if you notice, this is a similar question to what I asked earlier. Do rewards make people work harder? And it looks like the results are very similar so far. I'm not going to tell you yet. Okay, if you haven't voted, we're at 89%. There's probably like one more person that's just... Oh, I know. I can... Listen, guys, you know that there's a little triangle with an exclamation mark that's by your name that tells me if you're not looking at my screen? I could call you out, but I'm not going to do it. There's 2 of you in here. Oh, one of them's back. That woke you up. Oh, they're both back. All right, vote, please. See, you didn't know that, did ya? All right, we're at 94%. I'm going to go ahead and close it. Okay, pretty similar, like I said. 18% of you believe no rewards. 82% believe rewards. Very similar to our results earlier when I asked about monetary rewards. So, wouldn't you like to know what all of this is getting at? Actually, see, now if you guys are all high drive, I could just say I'm gonna right now Venmo all of you guys, 19 of you, $5 to pay attention for the next hour and a half. Would you do it? Okay, so basically, what the study found is that actually the low drive group performed this task 2 minutes faster on average than the high drive group. Now, why would that be? So 80% of you are wrong based on this study. No problem, Ariane. I get it. I was just messing with you. I get some of you are listening on your phone at work or whatever, and you can't be fully present. No problem. Stress. Exactly, William. Exactly. Pressure-free thought. So Michael says, so meaning, okay, well, if I'm under pressure and I'm a little stressed and my fight or flight response kicks in, like you learned about in week 2, is that going to help me solve the problem faster? Kyle has been doing the reading. I can tell. He says, because having a reward narrows your focus and limits creativity. Exactly. So you're so focused on the reward itself that you are like, oh my gosh, I just have to win. I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. And then you get all stressed out and then you don't necessarily come up with the most creative ideas. Whereas if you're in this low pressure, like, oh, okay, I'm just going to, do this study and solve this problem and this will be fun, then you're able to access those creative parts of your brain. Trenton says, oh, true. I see how that would make me more anxious and less focused. Exactly. All right. So hypothetically, let's see whoever in here, there's 19 of you, hypothetically, creates the most innovative t-shirt design by the end of the day for Psychology of Play will receive $1,000. So in this hypothetical situation, according to the candle problem, what would be the result? Daniel says, I have a website full of them. I won. Oh, you guys already have designs. You're like, listen. But see, not everyone's good at designs. So based on this study, obviously, we would hypothetically realize that you would be less creative. We might not come up with the same ideas as if it was just like a fun class activity, right? Like let's just, brainstorm and work together or, just have some time for our creativity. There might be a different outcome than if I'm like, oh, you're going to win a big fat bonus, William says, I'd click Daniel, but I don't want a triangle. Oh my God, you guys are going to be so paranoid. Don't worry about it. I promise I won't look. All right. So let's talk more about research because that's what we psychologists love to do. So what Daniel Pink has kind of boiled all this down to is that there's 3 elements of motivation. Number 1 is autonomy. People want to do things on their own so that they could say, oh, look what I did. This was all me, right? People want autonomy. They don't want to be micromanaged. They don't want to just, be told what to do. They want to come up with it on their own, right? Also, people want mastery. They want to be the best at something. We don't want to just do a mediocre job. You're not here to just be a mediocre whatever you came to school for. You want to do it because you want to be the best at it. I mean, I think that that's definitely something that motivates people, right? Courtney says, I don't like to be micromanaged. Yeah, I'm sure we all have that boss who's like over our shoulder, like, oh my gosh, did you do this? Did you do this? Emailing you constantly. Did you meet your deadlines? Did you, check off this box to say that you completed something? It's like, okay, I'm pretty sure I know how to do my job. Like, just leave me alone and let me do my job. Trust me. Nobody likes to be micromanaged. So autonomy is really important. And then the third thing is purpose. Is what you're doing giving you a sense of meaning in your life? Because if it is, then that's going to be something that keeps you motivated in doing that. Because, life is tough. Careers are tough. Jobs are tough. It's not like it's just, yay, this is my passion. I'm going to have so much fun doing this every single day. No, you're going to have deadlines. You're going to have a lot of stuff going on. You're going to have sometimes projects to do that aren't really up your alley. Like in our class right now, some of you in here hate the weekly plans and some of you love it, right? But if you have a sense of purpose of, okay, let me look at the bigger picture. I'm here at Full Sail to get through these classes and become better at my craft or whatever it is. That's your purpose. And that's what's going to motivate you, right? Cody says, I like having management to keep me focused, but I like having some freedom to do it how and when I do something. Exactly. Yeah. That's a great point for sure. John is just joking around in here. All right. So let's talk about fun now. We talked about all the serious motivation stuff, but guess what? One of the easiest ways to motivate people is to make it fun. How can you make an everyday activity more fun? Like going up the stairs, for example. Not so fun. A lot of people take the escalator because it's easier and then they can stare at their phones. But what if going up the stairs and getting exercise was more fun? So take a look at the material section in your control panel and click on piano stairs and watch that video. And then when you're finished, go ahead and type done in the chat box and I'll know you're done. All right, looks like most of you guys are finishing up the video. So something, that makes the stairs fun and musical, people realizing that, and then guess what? More people are going to choose to take the stairs. So sometimes fun can be the easiest way to change behavior, right? So how can we apply this theory to other areas of our life, like in our jobs and in our personal life? That's something we're going to talk about now. Gamification. Who's heard of this word before? William has. I mean, if you did the reading, obviously you have. Me through the reading? Okay. So it's becoming a lot more popular. I mean, it's kind of a term that's come out in the mid, I would say, 2000s, 2005. But it's catching on, and it's actually something that we see every single day in lots of different areas, but we don't really realize that there's this theory behind it, and that's what people are using when they're doing their marketing for businesses and when they're trying to get customers and when they're developing their apps. This is what's coming into play. So it basically means Applying elements of games to non-game contexts, such as workplace productivity, marketing, education, or personal challenges. So, the end goal is you want your audience engaged and turn work into play. So you want to make something that's not so fun into something that's more fun by making it game-like, basically. So what are some game mechanics that are used in these situations? We have leaderboards, top 10 lists, badges, competitions, leveling up, points, challenges, virtual currency, so getting coins for things, progress bars, right? These are things that make games fun, right? They make them competitive. They make them something that's challenging. You like that sense of reward, right? So these are things that are going to get people to do what you want them to do. Here's an example, just a department store. Cashiers can remove a hanger in 5.2 seconds. How can you do it faster? Please remove your hangers and leave them here. So a way to motivate customers to put the hangers back instead of having the cashiers do it, right? They obviously are trying to get the cashiers to have more time to do other activities. Another example here is Nitro Type. I know, I guess I'm dating myself here, but when I was in school, in elementary school, we started learning how to type on the computers because computers had just come out, a decade before, and were just starting to be implemented in the classroom. And so we had to do these typing games where we had to learn where to put our fingers on the keyboard to get the certain amount of words per minute. And it was really boring. It was just like, look at the letter and then push a letter with your finger and then look at this letter. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was horrible at typing. It wasn't very fun. But now they have this game. If you go to nitrotype.com, you can compete against people all over the world in typing exercises to get faster at your words per minute faster. And if you win races, you get, to buy things like boosters and car decals or whatever. So it's kind of, you know, um, plays on that game mechanic of competition and leveling up and those kind of things. So just another example, right? Making something educational fun. Trenton says we had to type sentences with a cover over the keyboard so we couldn't see the keys. Oh, gosh. Well, that sounds even worse. So you probably hate typing. So let's see another example. I have a great video here. All right, actually, I'm going to show you two videos, and then we can take a little break. So let's first watch gamification. So in your material section, go to the gamification clip, and that's going to give you some more examples of how this is used in different areas like fitness and such, and kind of tie it into motivation. So it's a really good kind of summary of what we've just been talking about. So when you're finished watching the gamification video from the material section, type done in the chat box. All right, so hopefully that gave you some examples and summarize what we've been talking about so far. And you might start noticing this now that we know this word gamification. Be like, oh yeah, that's gamification. I know since that I started teaching this class and doing research on it, I've used it so much. I know my daughter is, since she's been 3, has been very picky with her eating. And so I found this plate that looks like a game board, and you put the food in each little piece. And if she goes through the little path and eats all the food in the little places, then she gets to the end, which has a castle little box where she can open it, and there's a little treat inside. So if she eats all her food, she gets to the end, and then she can have the prize. So it's making food fun, you know? It's the same thing as when I'm like, oh, let me make your food into a face of a shape. Or I mean, a shape of a face, Jesus. And, little things like that we do a lot with children, but we don't realize that we can do this with adults too, especially when it comes to fitness. I know I do not enjoy working out. Some people do, some people don't. I'm a person that does not. So I have a Fitbit on right now. Let's see. Oh my gosh, I've only gotten 5.3 thousand steps today. I try to get 10,000 a day, so I'm a little bit behind. But I love the Fitbit app because I can compete against my coworkers. We have a work week challenge that we do every week. We go for walks on our breaks, and it just makes, being active and getting up from our desk a little bit more fun. And that's what gamification is all about. So hopefully you start seeing some things around and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's what we talked about in class. That's gamification. Trenton says my Apple Watch always reminds me when I'm behind. Yeah, so does my Fitbit. It buzzes at me. It's like time to get 150 steps this hour. So sometimes that could be something fun to put in your weekly plan as well for the fit category. Making fit fun. Okay. Do you guys want to watch another video or do you want to save it for later? I don't want to video you out. Okay. That was probably a hard question to answer. Raise your hand if you want to watch a video now. Okay, just 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, only 4 of you. So I'll leave that for you guys to watch later. It's called The Ice Cream Toilet. It's in your material section. It's a video from Dan Pink, who we've already been talking about, and he has a show on National Geographic, or it's a past show. I don't think it's on anymore, but he basically does these experiments to show about how we can change behavior by making things fun, which is basically what we've been talking about. So he has an ice cream toilet where he is trying to find a way to convince kids not to pee in the public pool in the summer. So if you're interested in that, you can watch it when we're done this lecture. The link will be available to you. And if you have read the readings for this week, you also have probably seen the poopometer video from his same show, trying to get people to pick up their dog poop. How do we make that? How do we motivate people to do that? By making it fun. So as you can see, I have 2 toddlers, and pee and poop doesn't make me uncomfortable, clearly. So I apologize in advance. All right, let's move on. So let's talk about mixing work and play. Kind of touched on this a little bit so far, but just to get us started, I'm going to give you another clip. I swear it's only a minute long. Don't worry, I'm not trying to get rid of you. Go to the material section and click on Big Clip. But first, actually, let me give you a little synopsis of this movie. If you haven't seen this movie, it's from the 80s. It's with Tom Hanks, and he basically goes to a carnival and goes to one of those fortune teller machines and decides that he is going to wish to become big, to become a grown-up, because he's sick of being, a teenage, a 10-year-old. So The next morning, he wakes up in his bunk bed as a fully grown man. His mother obviously chases him out of the house thinking he's a stranger. And he has to find his way in the big city as an adult with a 10-year-old's mind, right? And so it kind of takes, you through his experience with that. And he ends up working at a toy store because the CEO saw him being very playful as an adult and liked that and said, you should, come work with me. So this is a clip of him in a meeting with some of the other, important creative people. So go to the material section, click on big clip, and then type down in the chat box when you're finished. All right, looks like most of you guys are finished. So just a fun little clip to show how sometimes we're a little bit too serious. And, wouldn't it be great if we could let loose a little bit? And, especially in this case, a toy company, and everyone's so serious in their suits and with their charts and their statistics. And, well, that's not a very playful environment. How are you going to make playful things for kids, right? So just an example of how we can mix work and play and how this can be helpful and not seen as something that's negative, immature, or a waste of time. Is my voice glitching out on anyone else's end besides Caleb's? Just making sure it's not my connection. Uh-oh. Okay, hold on. Let me look at my sound really quick. All right, thank you, William. He says if you leave the session and come back, it might start working a little bit better. Sorry about that. Technology. All right, so what are the benefits of mixing work and play? Well, in your company, it's going to boost morale. It's going to raise productivity because people are going to want to work because it's fun. It's going to increase creativity. It's going to foster teamwork. People are going to be wanting to work together and be creative together. It optimizes work quality. If you're having fun, you're going to be more productive, right? And that's going to improve the quality of your work. It reinforces desired behavior. So if there's a behavior that you want to see in your employees, gamify it, make it fun, and then that's going to help. And it promotes engagement. So let's talk about some real life examples of this. Google. I think this is one of the classic, I guess it's classic now because Google's been around quite a bit now, but they really embrace this playing lifestyle. Their headquarters are insane. They have Lego PlayStations. They have ladders that connect floor to floor. They have bikes and scooters for you to get from building to building. They do scavenger hunt games. They let you bring your pets to work. They have all of these creative workspaces where they promote engagement because there's not a lot of walls and cubicles and offices. It's all very open, which lets people talk to each other and come up with ideas and innovate. They let you design your own workspace, so it's not just like this boring place that you go every day. They take care of your food, your laundry, your childcare, anything that you could think of so that you can spend more time at work because you enjoy it. So you're not like, oh my gosh, it's 5 o'clock. I can't wait to get out of here and move on with my life. It's, hey, I really enjoy being at work. And sometimes it's hard to leave because I'm so into what I'm doing. So they want to create a workforce that's happy because they know, just like Dan Pink knows, that, or like we talked about in week 2 with the happiness advantage, that a happy workforce is going to be more productive and more creative. William says Disney as well. Yes. Also Zappos. This is a picture from in their office where clearly they hire some kind of zany people that just decorate things however they want. It's kind of fun to go into that type of environment. You should see, the cubicles at some places. It's very depressing. It always makes me think of the movie Office Space. I just keep dating myself with these movies, but look it up. So Zappos actually does something cool. So in their interview process, they come in, they make sure that you obviously are qualified for the job, and then the second interview, you do a training, and at the end of the training, they say, okay, you did the training, you can either be hired now, or I'm going to give you $5,000 for you to just leave. Why do they do that? Why would they just give people $5,000 to leave? Well, they don't want people to work for them that are motivated by money. They want people to be passionate and want to be a part of the Zappos culture because they know that's what's going to make a successful business. Are employees that want to be there, that believe in the company, that believe in the company's values, and not someone that's just going to take a handout and run down the street, right? They don't want those people. They'd rather pay them off than have them bring them down, kind of thing. So that's Zappos. Then there is Dropbox. This is one of their rooms that has a Lego conference table. I mean, I know I have about 3 cans of special silly putty on my desk. And so like when I'm talking and grading, I'm always playing with my silly putty. And one day we even had a Floam workshop, and we brought in all the ingredients to make Floam with like shaving cream and these little like foam balls, and we just all made Floam together. And what a great way to just like break up the day and, talk and brainstorm about whatever it is we were working on, fixing up the class or whatever. And it just made it more fun. So those are the things that companies are starting to do, hopefully, to motivate their employees. So Thomas says, oh, I work in a 7x7 white room, 2 computers, and the company dog. Well, at least you get the company dog. That's awesome. You should ask him if you can paint the walls. John says the cubes are bland. Yeah, you gotta, Sometimes management is not into these things, but show them the research that these are things that make employees happy, and more productive. So I have another video. I know you guys are videoed out, but that's okay. Go to your material section and click on Inside Dropbox, and you're going to want to work there because it's so cool. And then type done in the chat box when you're finished. All right, so pretty cool office space. A lot of the companies in Silicon Valley are definitely embracing the value of work and play. And there's being, definitely a lot more research in this area, which is awesome. So hopefully by the time you guys are graduated full sail and you get out there into the workforce, you can strive to work for a company that values play. That would be awesome. Okay, so any questions about the first half of our lecture? We're going to move on to our second half now, talking about conflict and teamwork. Any questions so far? Is everyone still awake? Just want to make sure. All right. Okay, so let's keep going. Conflict can be costly to a company. Yes. If there's a lot of conflict, people aren't being productive, right? It's associated with emotional fatigue, absenteeism, and turnover. So companies are striving to reduce conflict. So teamwork is actually one of the top qualities that employers are looking for in an employee. So what is conflict? Basically, conflict is a transactional process between people who perceive incompatible goals, scarce resources, or interference in achieving their objectives. So what are we going to do now? Let's have some conflict. We're going to do an activity about something ethical that everyone will have an opinion about, but that's hopefully a little bit fun. So I'm going to read you this ethical dilemma. After being cut out of the wolf's belly, Red Riding Hood's grandmother sends Red back home by a different road. Grandmother doesn't mention that the road is rumored to have many dangers, especially a troll. Red Riding Hood is on her way back from grandmother's house when she passes a friend of hers, Goldilocks, who has just narrowly escaped the troll living under the bridge up ahead. Red and Goldilocks talk about the weather and the wolves and the bears, and then they both head on their way, but Goldilocks does not warn Red about the troll she's about to face. As Red approaches the bridge with the troll under it, she finds an old beggar and offers him some bread. The beggar thanks her, but also does not say a word about the troll, although he too knows it's there. Red Riding Hood then crosses the bridge, which is guarded on a far end by a knight, but he is drunk and has passed out on his ship. Red Riding Hood is looking up at the clouds and not paying attention at all, and the troll, who's rather slow and loud, is able to sneak up on her, kill her, and eat her without anyone even noticing, not even Red. Your task is to determine who is to blame for Red's fate and in what order, with rank 1 being the character whose fault it is the most, and rank 6 being the character whose fault is the least. You have 10 minutes. So we are you guys are a group here. There's 21 of you in here currently, and you have to decide this now. Okay? You have 10 minutes. Because I can't unmute you all, I'm going to ask for 5 team leaders to volunteer, raise your hand, to be on the microphone and talk amongst yourselves to figure out the order. So I need 5 volunteers. Got William. The volunteers will also need to make sure they're reading in the chat box to see what the rest of the group is talking about. So that's on the team leaders. So far we just have William. Come on, brave souls. Come on. Don't leave me hanging. One person? All right, raise your hand so I can unmute you, and you'll go to the top of the list. Alexandra, raise your hand. Listen, if I don't get 5 volunteers, you're going to force me to unmute you. Trenton, what about you? You have some things to say in the chat box. All right. Okay, we got Caleb. I'm unmuting you. Make sure you unmute yourself on your end. William, I'm unmuting you. Alexandra, I'm going to unmute you. See if it works. Okay, so we got 3 people so far. And then I'm just going to pick 2 more people. How about Jordan, unmute, and Kyle. All right, you guys are our team leaders. Kyle, you need to unmute yourself on your end. And I'm going to go ahead and set the timer and then mute myself so you guys can discuss. All right, go ahead.
Hello.
How are we doing?
Hello.
Hi.
So is anyone else confused about who's and who's is what's that we have to watch that month?
Can you repeat that? I couldn't really hear.
I didn't hear any specific groups, so I guess we're just kind of all looking to see what everyone thinks.
Yeah, I think we're doing it as a group together.
Okay.
Maybe.
So I
Well,
guess the troll doesn't count as a character.
Well, she said there's what, 6, right? So there's
Yeah.
Red, the grandmother. Goldilocks, the beggar, the knight. So that leaves one floating around.
We got Red Riding Hood, Goldilocks. We have the beggar and the knight.
The grandmothers.
And then we have.
So the only other one that I see is the troll. And if we're assigning blame, my idea is that the troll's the one to blame because he's the one making all the problems.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then my second one was red because she had 5 opportunities to ask if there was anything she should be worried about.
That is a good point.
And then everyone else is just the first, the second, the third, the fourth person that she talked to that didn't warn her.
Yeah. Goldilocks just having been with the troll should probably be the one that's most guilty of those.
The only reason why I say red is probably the biggest offender after the troll is because she had 5 opportunities to ask if there was anything she should be worried about.
Yeah, I think the grandmother should have told her first, though, don't you think? Just because the grandma.
It all depends on how you look at it. If the grandmother's leading into dementia, she might not remember everything.
Agree.
Older people tend to not remember things when they try and list things off. And
Yeah.
the grandmother knows the troll is on the road, but doesn't know for sure from what I'm reading. She just knows there's usually a troll.
Mhm.
Or wolves or whatever. But I'm down for what everyone thinks if we want to start locking up our list.
I think what you said is good with me.
Technically, though, the knight is guarding the bridge, but he's too lazy and drunk to even do anything
Oh.
about the troll, if you
You're
think
right.
about it.
Yeah, so maybe the
So
knight
he's not
should
doing
go
his job.
second because he's charged with the protection of the bridge.
He technically should have seen the troll and taken care of the troll before Red got hurt by him.
Oh, well, there you go. Actually, we should make the knight first and the troll second then, because the knight was charged with the protection of everybody.
Yes.
So then our new list would be the knight, the troll, Red Riding Hood, and then Grandma, Goldilocks, the beggar, and we're good.
I'm good with that if everyone else does.
Sounds good to me.
We got 2 Shures on the board. Another one. Everyone's in by the looks of things. Anyone who's not, I'd say speak up now or forever hold your peace. I wonder if we get an extra $5 since we did this in less than 5 minutes. So it looks like right now, Kyle, the list that we're all agreeing on is the knight, the troll, Red Riding Hood, Goldilocks, the beggar, and that should be the list.
Did you mention the grandma anywhere
Oh, we
in there?
missed Grandma. So Grandma's after Red Riding Hood. So one more time. We've got the knight, the troll, Red Riding Hood, Grandma, Goldilocks, beggar. And I'm open, Thomas, to hear whatever you think, buddy.
I unmuted you,
I think,
Thomas.
yeah, I think Grandma is the one that should be the first one because she's the one that allowed Red Ryder go that way. So she should have known all the dangers in the first place.
Can I offer a rebuttal to that?
Sure.
Red is ultimately in control of whatever direction she goes in, regardless. And pretty much any way that Red went, she could have ran into danger. So the grandmother really didn't have any idea. She just knew the road was dangerous.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah, but the grandmother could have told her the rumors of the dangers.
Absolutely. I agree with you there, but I don't think that necessarily the grandmother should be charged with the ultimate safety of Red. I mean, she could have helped, but I mean, Red could have asked.
Let's also remember that the grandma may have forgotten the troll was there in that
Right.
one moment.
Right, and we've shifted from who's to blame to the coulda, woulda, shouldas of the conversation. Because everyone could have just stayed home and then it wouldn't be a problem for anybody. All right, so we're left with it's either Red or Grandma to be second or third. I say it's equal it's kind of equal on this case. We're talking about couldas. So as a whole, I think we should just agree to put Grandma before Red.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I think Grandma should be the number one. Then it would go Red, and then it'll fall into the story of Goldilocks, the beggar, and the knight.
Let's not forget that the knight was charged with the protection of the road. So he ultimately is the reason why the troll is bugging people in the first place.
If he hadn't been so drunk that he didn't realize what was going on, he could have done something about it.
Right. That's why I think the knight goes first, and then the troll's the perpetrator. So.
Then again, I just realized something. Under the bridge is the troll's home, and it was Red who invaded his home by going over the bridge.
Now we're getting into like a totally outward section of, is Red guilty of trespassing?
Of course, then again, why do you handle trespassing by killing and eating the person?
Well, I mean, laws are different in every story, isn't it?
True that.
57 seconds, folks. We got to figure out which one is going on. Is it Red, Grandma? Where are we putting them all? I agree with you, Courtney. It should definitely, in my mind, what most of us are saying is the knight, then Grandma, because she kind of had an idea afterwards. Or sorry, the knight, the troll, then Grandma, and then Red Riding Hood, and down the list. The thing is, John, is it seems like you're the only one who says Grandma's number one. Or that's what I'm seeing.
Beep, beep, beep. The timer's up. I'm going to go ahead and meet you guys back for a minute. So, I did this on purpose to create some conflict because ethical dilemmas, as we know, are things that we tend to, it relates on what our values are and what our ethics are. So everyone's perspective on the order of this might be different. I also saw that a lot of you, were listening to other people's suggestions and maybe like, oh yeah, I could see that. But the point of this experiment was to get you guys to experience a little bit of conflict. And the reason why I did that is because I want you to pay attention to how you handle conflict, because that is what is important. How do you handle conflict? So there's no right or wrong to this ethical dilemma. Sorry to put you guys under 10 minutes of stress, but it was for a purpose, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So let's just discuss this. I definitely picked some leaders on my own, but also other people volunteered. So did you agree with the leaders' decisions if you were in the chat box and not unmuted? So those of you in the chat box who weren't able to talk on the microphone or didn't volunteer, did you agree with everything that the leaders were saying? Somewhat, says John. Probably not, right? It's really hard in this type of situation to agree 100% with what anybody's saying, right? Exactly. So, what kind of conflicts did you notice? Because obviously, you guys all have different opinions on this. Yes, you might agree in some areas and not on others, but what type of conflict came up? Yeah, the order, Thomas, yep. Personal opinions, definitely. Right. And, when we think back to our definition of conflict, right? Scarce resources, incompatible goals, right? Having different values. Time constraint also put some pressure and stress on you. Courtney says selecting the order and conflict within the leaders, right? So if you're a leader and then you're kind of in charge for having the voice for the team, but yet you guys don't agree. John says when people started placing what ifs instead of the proof we have. Yep, that came up towards the end, right? Because you just keep going, you keep brainstorming, which makes it difficult, right, when you have a time pressure. So for the non-volunteers, did your opinion change based on the group leaders' discussions? So those of you in the chat box, did you feel like your opinion changed when you were hearing the dialogue play out? Courtney says yes. A few things, yes. Okay. So that might tell you that, hey, you're an open-minded to other people's opinions, willing to listen and learn something new. But not everyone's like that, right? These are just questions to get you thinking about how you handle conflict in a group environment. Courtney says, especially when the idea of Redna asking about if there were any dangers present. Okay. Especially, if something is emotionally a charge for you. Let's say you really value law enforcement. I bet that the knight's inability to protect Little Red Riding Hood might have made you really upset and want to put the knight more towards the top of the list. Trenton says, mine did change with the knight, definitely once they made their point. Courtney agrees. Alexandra said, or protection from the grandmother. So think about how these types of things tie into your values. If you value family, right, which a lot of you mentioned earlier when we were talking about motivation, then the grandmom not telling her about the troll probably rubbed you the wrong way. And grandmom was probably up towards the top of the list, right? So it's based on your perception, right? So what real life institutions or situations does this represent? Life. Yeah, pretty much life. Anytime we talk about religion, politics, maybe you're in a work situation and something comes up where you need to make a decision, but everyone has their own opinions about it. Kyle says just about every boardroom in America. Right. So these things happen. And conflict, there's a lot of misconceptions about it. One of them is that conflict is bad and should be avoided. Oh, what can we do to make things easier on us? What can we do to make sure that everyone agrees? Well, guess what? Conflict is a part of life, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's something that we need to experience and go through. We shouldn't actually avoid it. We should just figure out a way to manage it. That's all. Conflict represents a misunderstanding or breakdown of communication. Not necessarily. You guys were pretty good at communicating in this situation. Yes, there was conflict, but it doesn't mean that you guys weren't good at communicating about it. I think William did a great job of trying to read other people's responses and listen to what other people had to say. All conflict can be resolved to everyone's satisfaction. Well, I think this is a perfect example of that not being true, especially with a team so big, right? That's why these are myths, right? It's impossible. It's impossible to get all 22 of you to agree on 6, right? It's like you think about jurors, and they have a really difficult court case, and how many hours sometimes they spend trying to come up with a verdict. That is definitely like a high conflict environment. So this brings us to, what is your conflict management style? When these types of conflicts arise, which we know is going to happen, it's going to happen in your personal relationships, it's going to happen with family members, it's going to happen in your work environments, etc., etc., etc. How are you going to manage it? And how do you typically manage it? And is that something you want to think about? So we're going to do a little quiz on your conflict management style. And we're going to see if this kind of matches with what you just experienced in our example ethical dilemma. So I need you to take out a pen and a piece of paper, or you can type this into your phone or on your computer somewhere in the notes. And you're going to, instead of number, you're going to list letters A through O down on the paper or in your phone. And then I'm going to read a statement for each letter. And you're going to answer each statement with the following answers. So as you can see on the screen, 1 is always, 2 very often, 3 sometimes, 4 not very often, 5 rarely if ever. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. I just want you to kind of go with your gut. You don't need to really overthink it. Just, what's your initial thought? Do you always do this? Very often, sometimes, not very often, or rarely if ever? Make sense? Okay. I am going to put your hands down. Now, raise your hand if you need more time to write the letters. All right, so we're good to go. I'm going to, hold on a second. I'm going to find my questions. Okay. A, I argue my case with peers, colleagues, and coworkers to demonstrate the merits of the position I take. Oh my gosh, you guys still have the timer on your screen. Sorry. All right. Hold on a second. What do you see now? You see 1, 2, 3? The key? All right. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you. It's gone? John says it's gone. Do you see the quiz questions, or do you see the number key? Okay, perfect. All right, we're good to go. Okay, here we go. A, I argue my case with peers, colleagues, and coworkers to demonstrate the merits of the position I take. B, I try to reach compromises through negotiation. C, I attempt to meet the expectations of others. D, I seek to investigate issues with others in order to find solutions that are mutually acceptable. E, I am firm in resolve when it comes to defending my side of the issue. F, I avoid being singled out, keeping conflict with others to myself. G. I uphold my solutions to problems. H. I compromise in order to reach solutions. I trade important information with others so problems can be solved together. J. I avoid discussing my differences with others. K. I try to accommodate the wishes of my peers and colleagues. L. I seek to bring everyone's concerns out into the open in order to resolve disputes in the best possible way. M. I put forward middle positions in efforts to break deadlocks. N. I accept the recommendations of colleagues, peers, and coworkers. O. I avoid hard feelings by keeping my disagreements with others to myself. All right, John, which one do you want me to rephrase? Okay, Cody, M is I put forward middle positions in efforts to break deadlocks. So meaning people that are kind of in the middle that aren't really sharing either way, you kind of encourage them to speak up so that you can, break the two-sided black and white type thinking. So people that are kind of in the middle of two different opinions, kind of encouraging them to break the deadlock. Okay, N is I accept the recommendations of colleagues, peers, and coworkers. So if someone recommends something to you, do you just accept it? All right, Thomas, you don't need to add them up yet. Hold on. All right, anything else before we start the scoring? Because there's a special way to score it. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to add up your numbers for A, E, and G, and that's going to be your shark score. D, I, and L, that'll be your collaborating owl score, and so forth down the list. So you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different scores. So go ahead and do that now. All right, so do you see the scoring sheet? Sorry, it should be on your screen now. I forgot I had paused it. Thanks for keeping me on track, guys. All right, so once you have your 5 scores, you'll have a number for each animal. All right. So oh my gosh. Hold on one second. Let me double check, but I'm pretty sure. Hold on. So I believe it's your lowest score is the dominant style. So you should have one score that's lower than the others, and that should be your dominant style. If they're tied, then that means you just tend to kind of alternate depending on the situation. So let's go over them and let's see. So keep your scores out in case I mess this up, because I don't have my paper right in front of me. I forget if it's the lowest score is your dominant style or the highest score. I'm pretty sure it's the lowest. So let's go through it and you'll see if I'm right. So let's do a little poll. What is your primary animal? Let's see what kind of animal styles we have in here, and then we'll go over them. So your lowest score. Go ahead and vote in the actual poll. All right, Caleb, I'm putting L back for you. All right, only 52% of you have voted. William, question? I have 3 lowest scores. Okay, so if you have a tie, obviously there's not that many questions. That just means that you alternate between different styles depending on the situation. So it doesn't mean you have a dominant style. Some people have a dominant style that they tend to be their go-to, but you just are unique in the sense that you can change. And of course, this is not an exact science. Okay, Caleb, really quick. L is, I seek to bring everyone's concerns out into the open in order to resolve disputes in the best possible way. So hearing everyone's thoughts and concerns. All right, so let me go ahead and close the poll. 67% of you voted, but it looks like we have a lot of owls and sharks in here, and then a little sprinkle of turtle, teddy bear, and fox. So let's go ahead and move on to see what these mean. Alfredo, if you just joined, you can calculate your score later. You'll have to go back and listen to the recording because we're going to move forward so our classmates can see what their results mean. Okay, so shark means you have a competing nature. So you're assertive, but you also don't necessarily mind being a little bit aggressive if needed. So if there's a conflict, you might kind of be a little snappy. Relationships are not a priority. You are more focused on the goal at hand, the task at hand, solving the problem. You don't really care about making friends and being nice. You just want to get the job done. Which, like I said, very goal-oriented. And you have a need to win, especially if it's in a competitive situation and there's a conflict. You just want to win, and that's all that matters. That's what you're focused on. That's a shark behavior. So when is it appropriate to be a shark? Because there's different times that this is appropriate and this is not appropriate, right? So it's appropriate to be a shark when you're in a situation where you have a time limit. You need to make a decision quickly. So you're not there to make friends. You're not there to be the nice guy. You just got to get stuff done. William says a manager. Yeah, so if you're in a situation where you're in a managerial role and you have to enforce rules, you don't really have a choice, well, yeah, then you're probably going to be a little bit more towards the shark assertive behavior. Also, it's appropriate to be a shark when the relationship is not important. So let's say you're having an argument with strangers and you just want your side to be heard and get going with the solution. You might not necessarily care and be a little bit more shark-like. Okay? When is it not so good to be a shark? Well, let me just say, being a shark with certain family members that might also be sharks could end up being a little bit explosive. So, when the relationship is important, having this style of conflict management is not going to probably end well. It's going to just lead to arguing, and especially if the other person's a shark, they might also be aggressive, and then two aggressive people together, we know that that's probably going to just escalate. All right. So if you are a shark, think about when are times that you need to tone this side of you down, and when is it appropriate, really. That's kind of what it boils down to. All right, so let's move on to the turtle, avoiding nature. This is actually the most popular style in America. The turtle is unassertive. The turtle doesn't assert their opinions. They don't really share a lot of their thoughts because they don't like conflict. They don't want to argue. They feel uncomfortable. This is the people that are in this class right now that didn't really talk in the chat box, didn't really talk on the microphone or offer to volunteer during our ethical dilemma because you're like, ooh, we have to make this decision in 10 minutes. Oh my gosh, this is horrible. Let me check out. You're probably a turtle. You don't really like conflict. I know for me, I tend to be this style. So I was feeling for you during that activity. They're passive or withholding style. They hide and avoid. So they don't likely share their opinions and they try to avoid the conflict as much as possible. They just kind of tuck in their shell. They don't say anything, kind of thing. And the majority of Americans use this style. For some reason, Americans, we do not like conflict very much. So when is it appropriate to be a turtle? Well, when you know you're talking to someone and you're not going to win, like if you're a turtle and they're a shark, I think Kyle said, if your wife's a turtle and you're a shark, your wife might shut down when you're talking and when you have a conflict and just check out, right? That's probably because, being a turtle means, let me go back. Being a turtle means that person feels uncomfortable. So it's definitely appropriate to be a turtle in certain situations, though. Certain situations when you're trying to just avoid conflict, and that would be the best thing to do, like maybe arguing about politics with your family members or something that, you know that you're never going to change this person's mind. You might just want to be a turtle because you're like, hey, this person is not going to stop talking, so I'm just going to sit here and just be in my shell and not exert myself. But also at the same time, if you're a turtle and every single time you have conflict, people are going to not hear your thoughts, not hear your opinions, and they might think that you're kind of not a pushover, but that you don't really have anything important to say, which might not necessarily be true. You might have something important to say, you just don't feel comfortable saying it. So then that tells you, okay, I need to work on being a little bit more assertive in those types of situations. All right, so I know all of you can probably picture these people in your mind if it's not your style, right? Okay, so let's move on to the teddy bear. The teddy bear is accommodating. They're also unassertive, okay? They kind of sit back, but they're cooperative. So if someone asks them their opinion, they're willing to share. They ask other people their opinions, but they really just care about the people in the relationships. They want everyone to have a voice and everyone to be heard and everyone to feel comfortable. They really care about harmony and connection. They don't really care about the outcome. They don't really care about having their voice heard. They just want it to be a pleasant experience. These are the people pleasers, right? They are definitely just wanting things to go as easy as possible. They don't want to rock the boat, okay? Well, when is this helpful? Okay, well, this might be helpful in certain family situations as well, right? If you are trying to maintain the relationship and you don't want to get into a big heated debate with someone and have this big conflict, then yeah, you might want to be a teddy bear and just kind of listen and, okay, yes, I'm hearing you, blah, 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 just kind of appease and people please. You might need to do that sometimes. But on the other hand, if you're a teddy bear all the time, you're always accommodating and trying to make other people happy, you might end up feeling resentful because you don't actually get your voice heard. You don't actually get to share your thoughts, really, because you're so focused on everyone else, right? So if you're a teddy bear and that's your main style, you want to think about ways to be a little bit more assertive so that you can work on maintaining the relationships, but also share your opinions in a respectful way. Right, Thomas. Everyone has a voice that should be heard. Exactly. And teddy bears often are left feeling like, okay, that went well, but maybe not fulfilled because they didn't really get to share their piece. All right. So let's go on to fox. The fox has a compromising nature. So this means they're assertive, they're respectful, they share their thoughts and opinions, they work together with other people, they're willing to compromise, right? So I'm assuming that some of you that volunteered to be on the microphone definitely probably have this style when you're dealing with conflicts. You're willing to sacrifice your personal goals, meaning, okay, I really didn't agree with Red Riding Hood being at this number, but most of the group is agreeing that it should, so I'm going to go with the group, right? So your compromise, it's different than what you would want, but you're willing to sacrifice that for the good of the group. And you convince others to do the same. Hey, guys, what do you guys think about this? Can we agree on this, right? So you're always trying to come to some sort of agreement. So you're still goal-oriented. You still share your opinions, but you're also more concerned about everyone kind of agreeing in this kind of democratic process. So the fox values personal relationships and goals, right? They don't want to upset anyone. They want to feel like everyone at least had a voice, had a say. But they also want to kind of share what they believe as well. So when is it appropriate to be a fox? Well, when you're in a situation where you're working with other people on your level and everyone has really great ideas and you're just kind of trying to pick from those. A lot of work situations you have to end up compromising when you're working with a lot of different people with a lot of different opinions and you can't you kind of don't want to rock the boat, but you still want to be helpful. When is it not helpful to be a fox? Well, the problem with being a fox is you really don't get fully 100% what you're looking for. So let's say you have a wonderful solution to a conflict, but you have to compromise. Well, then you're kind of losing a little bit in the end. And that might cause you to be resentful or frustrated, kind of thing. So, of course, it depends on the situation. Michael says, I feel that I often agree to disagree before I abandon my personal beliefs. Yeah, exactly. So you might stick to, hey, this is what I believe, but hey, I'm willing to compromise for the good of the group, kind of thing. Thomas says, but everyone loses a little. Exactly, because you're meeting in the middle and it's not necessarily resolving the conflict 100%. Oops, pushing the wrong button. I'm not used to not having my mouse because I'm working from home today, so I'm just using my little tracker pad. Okay. So Al is collaborating nature. This is our last one. We had a lot of Al's in here. Assertive and cooperative. They speak their mind, but they're willing to work together towards a common goal. They view conflict as a problem that needs to be solved, not as, oh, this is an argument. A lot of times, I know when arguing with my husband. He's like, oh, we are arguing. I'm like, no, we're not arguing. We just have a conflict and we're talking about it. We're discussing it. That's it. We got to solve this problem. All parties are equally valued, so everyone's opinion matters, and you want to work towards a common goal rather than compromising and meeting in the middle. And equality balances relationships and personal goals. So you care about the relationship and who you're having the conflict with, but you also care about the goal. So those two things are both equally important, and you have a rational discussion based on that. So when is it appropriate to be an owl? Well, this is the most effective strategy of all the strategies. However, it takes the most time because often you're not all going to be owls sitting in the same room holding hands and singing kumbaya like, yay, let's figure out the conflict together. No, you might be dealing with a shark. You might be dealing with some turtles in the corner who aren't saying anything and don't want to participate. You might be dealing with, a teddy bear that's just trying to appease everybody and make everyone happy, right? So it's a different dynamic because there's, obviously everyone has a different style. However, with that being said, knowing what your dominant style is or knowing about these styles can help you in these types of situations. So if you're dealing with a conflict when the relationship is the utmost importance, definitely don't go to shark. Definitely don't, be a turtle. You want to, be accommodating or compromising, right? So depending on the situation. And it's all, like I said, it's not black or white. So, sometimes it's a blending of these. But it's a good idea to kind of at least think about how you handle conflict. All right. Yes, I will send you guys, or actually on the Google Doc, when I post the video, the recording, I'll add an extra link with the quiz questions so that someone can take it. I actually have a pamphlet that you can see what each style means as well, kind of like a summary of what we just talked about. So I'll go ahead and put that in with the resources on the Google Doc. All right. So let's do a little fun example. Person B is me. Person A is the shark. I'm neutral. I don't really have a style, let's say. We both want the orange. Who gets the orange? William says shark. Trenton says shark. John, shark. Thomas says split it, both wins. Alexander says shark. Okay, most of you are right. It's the shark, right? The shark is aggressive. The shark is just going to take what the shark wants. Shark wins, I lose. All right, what about the turtle? We both want the orange. Who's going to get it? Like our government. Oh, yeah, you guys got it. Me. Because the turtle is just going to sit back and just let me take it. What about teddy bear? Who is going to get the orange? Man, you guys are paying attention. Kudos. That's right. I'm going to get the orange. The teddy bear wants to make me happy. What about Fox and me? Who's going to get the orange? John got it first. Split it. Yep. You guys got it. That's right. We're both going to share the orange because we're compromising. And then we have the owl and me. Who's going to get it? Alexander says owl. Caleb, Thomas say split. Well, it's a little bit more complicated. William says give it to someone hungrier. Oh, I like that answer. I should change it. Well, the owl is focused on the goal, but also me. So he says, why? And I said, well, I want to make jam with the peel. And he says, well, I would like to eat the fruit. So we both win. Win-win. We both get what we want. All right, so just a little silly example to see you guys were paying attention and get what the styles mean. I think you do. So we are actually finished today. I guess I was talking extra fast. Done a little bit early. So if you do not have any questions, feel free to log off and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for letting me put you through some experiments and lots of videos. Make sure you go back and watch that ice cream toilet if you're interested. You are very welcome. If you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand or type in the chat box. If not, bye-bye.